welcome to the Guardians of Geekery Gaming podcast. My name is Dominic Murphy. I've been featured on here before as Arcadia Cosplay. I'm joined by Damien Hockey, who is your guru to all things geek. And
hey, how are we doing?
Just to give a little bit of pretense to what we're going to be doing, I'm aiming to do once a week a little bit of a podcast, discuss with our fellow Guardians about the general state of affairs with the gaming industry, little issues and things that crop up, and generally just see what people's opinions on things are, which I know can be rather a rocky topic, but, you know, we're a bunch of adults, so hopefully, you know, we can at least give you some insight into the things that are going on if you don't get a chance to study any of the articles that come up, things like Kotaku, IGN, things like that. Hopefully this will be your one-stop shop to discuss all things gaming. With that, so we are aiming to do at least one a week. It'll be hosted by myself, and on the back of that, also with, like I say, a couple of the fellow Guardians, Damien, possibly get Tattooed Deviant in here as well. He's more than likely going to have a chat about some things. With that, we thought that the first place that we should talk about, and the first sort of topic we should discuss, is the recent announcement of Final Fantasy VII Remake. More specifically, its current episodic nature. If you haven't read, there are plenty of articles that have just come out from the PlayStation Experience. Tetsuya Nomura announced that Final Fantasy VII will be not necessarily episodic in nature. I believe the term he used will be told across a multi-part series, with each entry providing its own unique experience, which was then backed up by Yoshinori Kitase, who said the idea that a remake of Final Fantasy VII would not fit into a single release was there from the very beginning. We still can't share more information at the moment about its multiple parts, but please look forward to future announcements, as they usually do. They're being quite withdrawn and, let's say, quite secluded with what they're going to say.
Tell me
about it. Damien, your thoughts, first of all?
As a fan of the original Final Fantasy VII, and the fact that it is quite a long game, even for the PlayStation 4, I think that, considering that they're doing it in an episodic nature, as long as they're making the game longer than it was, then I think that that's fine. But if the game is staying at the same length, then I don't understand the need to have it as episodic.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Somebody asked me about it earlier on. One of my friends tagged me in a post, and they were saying about, obviously, the episode, however you want to call it, episodic multiple parts, because it's not necessarily episodic. To be fair, Square Enix have had a pretty good track record with episodic games. Life is Strange is the prime example from this year. It is absolutely amazing. I do implore anybody to go and play Life is Strange if you've not done, but
I wish I had. I haven't had time to play it.
Yeah. Somebody said about the episodic nature. Now, the way that I look at it is, first off, Final Fantasy VII is seen as one of those pinnacle achievements in gaming history.
It is.
Irregardless of who you speak to. Whether they like it or not, it is an achievement. On the back of that, somebody was saying, obviously, about, well, it's episodic, you know, it's going to be broken up, we've got to wait, blah, blah, blah. You've got to remember that Final Fantasy VII has a massive lore base. Like, the entire lore base is massive. It's along the lines of, like, the size of lore that you get with things like Dark Souls. And it's very well told. It's very beautifully told. But at the same time, not everybody has the attention span to sit there, play a game for 60 hours, retain all the lore, and enjoy the story. So the way that I look at it is, it's good for people who have previous experiences with Final Fantasy VII. You'll know the lore anyway. Fair enough. Okay, it's not going to benefit you so much, but at the same time, for people with a shorter attention span, with people who don't have the necessary
time to sit there and
not only that as well, people who never played the original, it's a good way to ingest the lore in parts. So ideally, if they're going to break it up, they're going to start obviously with Cloud, go into the reactor with Barrett, Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, go and meeting Tifa. Like, they can break it up in that way to give people more of a clearer understanding. Because I remember playing it, and maybe Damien's exactly the same, but playing it when it first came out, I was a little bit long. I was a little bit young.
Yeah, I was young.
I was quite young, to be fair, and not all the aspects made sense. Obviously, as I got older, I've played it again. I understand the concepts and things like that, but it seems to be that if you can't ingest all the lore, then you do miss out on a lot.
Yeah.
So I see it as a way to obviously bring more people in, bring, let's say, a different demographic of people who do enjoy the shorter episodic stuff, people who enjoy things like Life is Strange.
Maybe it's also at the same time trying to bring the young generation in like they did with us. When we first played it, we was young. Maybe it's a way of bringing in a new demographic of younger players, as well as obviously the people who have nostalgia boners over it.
Yeah, I totally agree. On that side, obviously, the way that they're going to do it hasn't been stated. Obviously, we've seen the screenshots. If you haven't seen the trailer, I suggest going watching it. I will leave a link in the YouTube description for a link to the trailer so you can go and watch it. Although if you haven't, what rock have you been hiding under? It looks brilliant. They have, in some ways, done away with some of the bits that I found quite charming about Final Fantasy VII. The pre-rendered backgrounds were quite nice. Obviously, had the chibi sprites in there as well. But not only that as well, things like the ATB, like the active time battle, basically the turn-based stuff. They've done away with that. They've brought it into more of a Dirge of Cerberus kind of way, and a more fluent version of how like Final Fantasy, like how Lightning Returns works and things like that. So you have a menu system. You can actively free control where your character moves to. You then attack. You can use materia, so on and so forth. You can switch between your characters. It's a new breath of life. You've got to remember that this game now is better part of what, we're coming up to 20 years old. You know, it's not a short span of time. The turn-based RPG genre, as far as I'm concerned, has died a little bit of a death. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not like it's one of those things that has ever not stood the test of time, if that makes sense. It's aged well, but as I said, new lease of life, new demographic, new visuals. Like they've completely designed all the areas from the ground up with like in full render 3D. You got polygonal graphics, all the rest of it. They needed to do something a bit different, and yes, it's lost a bit of charm on me. It's lost a few points in that respect, but at the same time, it's done a lot more to. I don't know. I keep harking on about it, but it will do a lot more to bring more fans to the fold. If nothing, to just bring more people into the ever argument of who's better, Cloud or Sephiroth. That's just a pissing match I don't care to entertain in any way, shape, or form. So I don't really know how to feel about that one, to be honest. Apart from that, really, it's it's going to be a learning experience, I think. As I said before, Square Enix have a decent track record with things like the episodic games, simply because like I said, Life is Strange is a testament to just what you can do with an episodic game. You've also got things like that.
And episodic games aren't a bad thing, because you look at people like Telltale Games who currently own the rights to the Walking Dead video games and the Game of Thrones stuff. That's episodic, and that works out brilliantly. By the way, for anybody who's interested, this is just a little bit of a sneak peek at the gameplay for the new Final Fantasy.
Yeah, this is some of the trailer. As you can see, it's massively changed. I do like the pre-rendered backgrounds. I do like the fact that it's about as close to. It's using the same similar. Well, if it's similar, if not the same engine that they used to render. What's it called? Advent Children. Is the word I was looking for. And it's about for a lot of the graphics that were in things like Final Fantasy. Like Final Fantasy 13-2, Lightning Returns, which, by the way, should be released on Steam this week sometime. Lightning Returns, they've
yeah,
I know. I'm quite excited about that. If nothing else, just to knock Lou Dolphin off the Lightning Returns leaderboards for fastest world record for speedrun, because fuck him, I want that title. I don't even care. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, to be fair, we've got a minimum of at least another fucking 12 months to wait. it's going to be next year. That's I mean, it's probably going to be, with the way that they're doing it and everything else. We'll be lucky if we see it in 2016, in my personal opinion. I mean, I've been waiting now for the Division for the best part of fucking 5 years, so we're going to be a while. So
yeah, and at least it's going to be well worth the wait. And as you said, episodic games do work really well. Life is Strange is a great example. The Telltale Games series is a great example.
I mean, shit, they even managed to do it with Minecraft.
Yeah,
Come on.
But the thing, with Telltale Games, they recently announced a Batman video game.
I've heard about that. I've not actually said anything though.
It's a small snippet. It's like a theatrical trailer.
Yeah.
So there's no actual gameplay or anything. So I'm guessing it's episodic as well.
It's going to be an interesting concept. It seems to be the way that it also, at the same time, and I will say this, it feels like developers are stringing us along.
Yeah.
If that makes sense as well. It feels like I'm being strung along. Like, okay, so I get that they're trying to do it more like TV. A lot of people enjoy the TV series. You've got The Walking Dead. You've got Gotham. You've got Arrow, Flash, things like that. You know, the things in episodic nature that have to do with pop culture. I do feel in some ways that games designers are stringing along. You have the likes of Resident Evil Revelations 2, which was a really fantastic episodic game. We keep going back to it, but all the Telltale games. My personal favorite, The Wolf Among Us, is absolutely outstanding. It's that's another achievement that I really enjoyed in as regards to gaming in the last couple of years. It's actually one of the first games that me and one of the other Guardians, Miss Elsin, actually sat down and played together as a couple. So, you know, it holds a lot of weight with me. The long and short is I just don't want to feel like I'm being strung along. I don't want to feel like I'm paying for something outright and then, what's the word I'm looking for? Just being drip fed. If I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna play it, something like Final Fantasy, it's gonna have to give me enough content that I want to, in the interim between the episodes or whatever they are, I want to go back and play it. That's the thing that has made obviously all the Telltale ones so successful, is you can go back and you can have multiple save files and you can dick around with different choices and things like that. Not necessarily the same thing for Final Fantasy, because obviously it's quite a linear story in that sense.
Do you think that episodic games, though, kind of cause a bit of an issue if they are released with huge dates between, like, say for example, the Wolf Among Us is a really good example of that anyway, because their episodic was between 4 to 6 months between two or three.
I could understand why. I'm hoping that if they are going to do it, they're going to essentially, what's the word I'm looking for? They're going to give us enough content, but at the same time, they're going to have the base, like the main core of the game done. Yeah. So there is enough there, so they can just keep giving out parts periodically, just keep churning it out on a regular schedule. Because there's nothing where it's like the worst case that I've ever seen of obviously like a really bad schedule for things was Breaking Bad. Was the break in between season 5 of Breaking Bad, which I know had a lot to do with like the Screenwriters Guild and things like that and all that. I get that, but still, that was like torture, and I don't think I could sit through that again.
And I think that they need to make sure that it's on a regular basis as a release date, because people sometimes just get bored of like waiting and just think, oh, bigger and better things are on the way. I mean, it's very unlikely with Final Fantasy VII, considering it's such a big franchise anyway. But the fact that if they released one episode and then 6 months later they release another episode, in between those times, people find other games to play. So they need to be very smart about how they're going to go about it and release it within a set timetable of maybe 3 months.
Yeah, it needs to be something along those lines, to be brutally honest. If it doesn't, it's probably just not gonna sit well. I mean, to be fair, they're already on. What's the word I'm looking for? They're already quite on. Square Enix aren't on the best of footings with their fans. It's in some respects. There has been some quite big issues as regards, like, we thought we were getting this game months and months ago, well, last year, and they did an announcement and they played the theme and everything else, and it turned out it was just the port of Final Fantasy VII, the PS1 game, onto the PS4. Like that's what it was. It was a port, and quite frankly, I nearly launched the TV out of the window.
Didn't they technically make it HD in a sense? Like, didn't they up the resolution?
Sort of, yeah, sort of the same way that they've done with things like
Grim Fandango.
Actually, I can't. Well, yeah, Grim Fandango. I can't even. I was about to say Darksiders 2, although you can't actually say that about Darksiders 2 because it's not been. If you haven't played Darksiders, just as a side point, if you haven't played Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition, go out, buy it, because it supports the developer. It's going to tell the developer whether they want Darksiders 3. If you like the Darksiders story like I do, don't fuck me on this. I'm being serious.
Yeah.
Don't screw me on this. Go out and buy it. Even if you only play it for 20 minutes, decide you don't like it anyway, and you thought it was money better off not spent, just go and get it anyway. It's good.
I have that in my library.
If you have it on Steam, if you already have Darksiders 2 on Steam, you've bought it in any of the sales, you bought it on any of the Humble Bundles or anything like that, you should have access to Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition. The Definitive Edition runs in 1920 by 1080 at 60 frames. It's completely upscaled, and like all the graphics have been redone for a HD platform. Oh. So it's worth it. It's worth playing again. I will play that game until my ears bleed, as far as I'm concerned. Even though we're getting slightly off topic. But yeah, the long and short for me is I'm excited to see how they do it and to see just what sort of demographic it brings to the to the franchise in general. It's for the longest time been a stale franchise, in the sense that it's not even the franchise, to be honest. It's been quite a stale talking point, just because everybody like gushes when they hear about Final Fantasy VII, and then they deem it as a so what I'm looking for, they deem it just as like the pinnacle thing, and nothing's ever going to be better of it. I enjoyed 13. I'm not going to lie.
I enjoyed 10. Just saying.
I enjoyed 13. I enjoyed 10. I didn't play 12. Hold my hands up, I didn't play 12. I played all of the 13 iterations. I played 13, 13.2, and Lightning Returns. I actually had a Japanese copy of Lightning Returns when it first came out, because I was actually unsure of whether we were even going to get it in the EU. But it'd be interesting to see how new people interpret what's going on and what they think of the story. Because obviously it's well established. If they had new parts, we had a little bit of fleshing out of backstories and things like that, which they didn't really need to do much of. But if they do, excellent.
It's always exactly. It's always extra. It's always extra canon towards the game. It's always something a little bit more to the mythos.
Yeah. So with that, there's not really much more I can say on it. There are going to be some interesting news reports and things over the next few months, obviously, as we sort of roll into next year, and hopefully, if we're lucky, we'll see something at EGX on the. Actually, it's just come up on a little side advert, which is why I mentioned it now. Hopefully, we'll see something like EGX or any of the big gaming conventions, PAX, E3, things like that. I'm hoping that they have some kind of playable release, or at least some kind of bigger floor demo type thing that they can show off at E3. Apart from that, there's not really much else I can say at the moment. I am hanging on pretty much every word that comes out of the interviews. Apart from that, there's not really much more. Just to obviously let you guys know, we appreciate your thoughts. Any comments, any feedback, anything you want to try and put to us, or any points you want to make that you think we may have missed, you feel free to leave them on the YouTube. By all means, leave them in the comments section. We will have a read of them, at least I will anyway. Any feedback you think the platform can be changed, you think there's anything we can do, you have to bear in mind this is the first time both myself and Damien have ever done anything like this. So yeah, anything you can think of, feel free to get in touch with us on the comments section. Leave it on the Facebook page. You can find us on Guardians of Geekery on Facebook. You can find myself over at Arcadia UK Cosplay. That's my cosplay page. You can also find Damien over on Damo's Wonder Wardrobe. Not only that as well, we will be making this a weekly thing. Like I say, next time, I don't even know what we're going to discuss. Probably just a roundup of the year in gaming, with it being December. probably just to round up what we've been playing, things like that. But apart from that, I do appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to join us, and hopefully this will become more of a regular thing. From myself, big thank you very much, and a goodbye from now, and from Damien.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
We have been the Guardians of Geekery, and we'll catch you all next time.
Bye now.